let's talk our overall favorite horror movies of all time. We did this last year for the Halloween special. It'll be interesting to see how our top 10s changed since last year.
Much.
Not much for you guys. That's changed a decent amount for me since I
Actually,
hadn't watched
maybe it
much
has.
last year. But throughout October, we've been doing like our favorite horrors in each like subgenre and each decade and stuff. So now, since it's our Halloween special, final Halloween episode of the year, let's go over just like our favorite just horrors of all time in general. So like get your rankings, your lists ready of your top 10.
I don't have a ranking. I just kind of have like a list of.
I've got a 10.
Okay.
I don't know if mine is the same as last year because
mine's definitely not.
Yeah, mine's definitely not.
Well, I'm
There's actually
interested
a couple of
to see
changes
if
in mine.
mine is, but we'll see.
Oh, now I kind of want to rank these, but
There's
I
a
don't
couple
wanna take,
changes
like,
in mine,
time.
actually.
So
You,
were
you can
yours
go
not-
last, George, if you just want to
Yeah.
zone in on
You want me to go first? I've got
I'm
mine
gonna go
ready.
last.
Yeah,
Give me time to
Seth, you
rank
go
these
for
real
it.
quick.
So again, this is like kind of no order. I'll go through the ones that have stayed. I think from last year. I'm sure George will share these as well. The Shining, Alien, The Thing. They're the top three. They've probably been my top three since I was like 15, 16 years old. Like they've been my top three for such a long period of time. So they've stayed. I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre's also stayed. I think I can't remember because the weird one is like Get Out and Silence of the Lambs. I don't directly consider horror myself. If I did, they would be in my 10. So that wouldn't change. But like they're kind of weird ones. I just more see them as like thrillers, I guess. New ones that have been added probably in my 10 are Titan, which obviously I love from 2021. I think Hereditary is still in there. That was obviously same for last year. The Bride of Frankenstein, one of my favorite sequels of all time, my favorite monster film ever. I think Suspiria was in it last year, but it might not have been. That's definitely around the 10 as well. The X is Dawn of the Dead. That's a new one because I rewatched that recently. Although that was around like 10 to 15 anyway. In the Mouth of Madness is probably floating around the 10 to 15 area. And then probably like Dark Water. Dark Water is definitely a new one. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think I mentioned, has always been there. And that's about it. I would say the ones that have stayed are definitely Shining, Alien, The Thing, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Hereditary, and The Exorcist, and then the others are new. But yeah, there's been a few changes to be fair, but most of like the main ones have stayed. But there's been a few ads like Titan, Suspiria, Dark Water, and Dawn of the Dead.
Okay, that changed more than you were leading on at first.
It did actually. Like when I'm looking at it, I think there's probably about. I know I said like 12 then. If I was to say the 10, I think 6 of them have stayed the same, and then there's been four new ones in the top 10. So it's actually changed like a decent amount, nearly 50%.
Cam, do you have your list ready?
Yeah, I had like mine as top 10. Did we count Alien as horror?
Yeah.
I have it listed as sci-fi mainly, but yeah, it's definitely like a horror.
I have it listed as. That's why I don't have like Jaws. I don't have Jaws on my list, but
I don't have Jaws on my list.
I don't. I think Alien is more horror than it. All right, but my list is fucking dumb, but I don't know. I like these movies. Let me just note, Crawl is my 14th. So George, shout out Crawl, right? But we'll go 10, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Don't lump me into that.
Yeah, come on.
I didn't know you were a Nightmare on Elm Street guy. I didn't even know you'd seen
You
Nightmare on
watched
Elm
it.
Street.
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street's good. Watch it with Emma. 9, A Quiet Place. 8, Halloween. 7, Midsummer, my favorite Ari Aster. What I believe to be the best, but who cares? 6, Shaun of the Dead. A little horror.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, I count it. If we're counting Alien and stuff, I'm counting that.
If I was counting horror comedies, obviously Shaun of the Dead would be mine as well.
Yeah. 5, Psycho. 4, Alien. 3, 3, Train to Busan. I think that's fucking great. I think if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. 2, The Shining, and then 1 is Get Out. Last year, The Shining was probably my number 1. I think Get Out's incredible. I just flipped them right now because
I think it's going to be interesting this horror list because like Cam mentioned like 3 or 4 there. I probably would have in mind. I just like don't see as horror myself, like a Train to Busan, like a Get Out, for example. It's like Shaun of the Dead's a weird one because I never think. I mean, it is. It's horror comedy.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if it's on there or not. But
it's definitely horror comedy.
No,
yeah, but like
I just don't think of horror comedies. Like it's not like
that's
or like okay, Psycho. I think is a big one. I would be in my top 10, but I've always seen Psycho as a thriller.
It's a thriller. Personally. I agree. It's horror's an odd genre.
Letterboxd is kind of like
people try to blend it like with it. If I like made a pure horrors list, this would have been completely different. Watcher was my 11, Hereditary 12, Nope 13, Crawl 14, and then The Invisible Man is 15. So like
the original Invisible Man?
No. The new one. I like the new one a lot. That was like the first movie to break
good.
the like streaming.
The new one has, I think, one of like the most jaw-dropping moments in horror.
Yeah,
that I've seen.
I think I know what you're talking about. I can't remember
the restaurant knife scene.
Yep, that's insane.
That like literally when I watched that, I was like, "Yo,
yeah,
that was."
I liked it a lot,
crazy.
but I don't know. I don't hold and like I just watched The Thing. I wouldn't like put that's still lower, and I'm okay with that. And just like I haven't seen a ton of horror in general, but everything I watch, I don't like a whole lot compared to these. So I'm okay with my list. I just think if like someone saw this as a top 10 horror, they'd be like, "You're a fucking idiot."
George, you need to stop tweeting about how bad Five Nights at
Yeah, dude. George
like,
tweeted
again.
again.
No, this is
Again.
I'm sorry.
My list. So again, similar to Seth, there's a couple like that would be in my top 10 that I'm leaving off because I don't like consider it like a pure horror, but if you do, I can see why. Number 10. Wait, let me make sure I got this right. Yeah, number 10, Midsummer, Ari Aster. We obviously had our big Ari Aster, Robert Eggers, Jordan Peele episode 2 weeks ago. Number 9, Cloverfield. We reviewed that on Real Quick 2 weeks ago as well. Number 8, Hereditary, also Ari Aster from our episode 2 weeks ago. So I'm really
what did you rate Cloverfield, Tyler? I don't know if I saw you rate it.
8.4.
Oh yeah, you did really like it, didn't you? Shit.
Yeah. And then Hereditary's at the the 8 spot.
Yep.
And then we got The Black Phone. Excited for the sequel. I think there's some lore you can go into there. I was a big fan of that. Excited to see. Well, I don't know if Ethan Hawke will return. I feel like he's going to return because the fact that they announced a Black Phone 2 plus like his Halloween costume was the Black Phone guy, the grabber. I feel like he probably didn't coincidentally do that. And then we got Scream 4, like I said. I guess technically, so I have it tied for Scream in terms of my actual rating, and I guess I give the tiebreaker to the original Scream, probably just mainly just the nod to that being the first one. But in terms of pure enjoyability, Scream 4 is my favorite Scream. So that's at the whatever that is, the 6.
6.
Yeah, and then number 5, 28 Days Later from Real Quick, like 2 weeks ago as well. So I'm just really being the big promo guy for the ReelTok podcast. And then, like I just mentioned, then we got Scream at the 4. Then we got Rosemary's Baby at the 3. Roman Polanski, sucky dude, but makes good movies. Get Out in the 2. Again, if you want to call it a thriller, sure, but Get Out's in the 2 for me. And then same with number 1, Psycho. Honestly, like weirdly enough, I consider Psycho more of a horror than Get Out because like you kind of have to factor in like the time period it came out, and like
I agree.
That was like the most terrifying movie of all time when it came out.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, Psycho's number 1 for me. Big fan of the Norman Bates universe. Obviously, I've seen all the Psychos, seen the reboot, but I even enjoyed Bates Motel. Like I binged that while I was in college too. Like anything in the Psycho universe, big fan of.
I never watched that. I probably should.
There's like 5-ish seasons.
Isn't he got the Freddy thingy, the good doctor in it? Isn't he the?
Yeah, but that's like the perfect kind of role for a weird, creepy guy. Like, but Vera Farmiga is the mom, and she's like incredible in it. Yeah, she's so good in it.
Yeah, she's great.
And like the final season is when things really, obviously, like as everyone knows from what happens in Psycho, that's when like the things of what Psycho happens in that movie, and that's when it really starts to get really freaking good. But George, have we given you enough time?
Yeah,
I'm good.
Cool. I am good now. I had a list of like just 20 horror movies, so it wasn't that hard actually to like just put it into a top 10 sub. Honorable mentions because I want to shout them out: Scream, I love; Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Jeepers Creepers, Cure, and Annihilation, which is more science fiction, but I still have it in the horror space. My number 10, Blair Witch Project, second favorite found footage film of all time. Just absolutely fucking love it. My number 9 is Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Pulse, which I just think is one of the most frightening and psychologically torturous movies out there. My number 8 is my favorite found footage film, is Cloverfield. We did a deep dive on that a couple weeks ago. Yeah, love Cloverfield a lot. I have It Follows at number 7, which I know is a pretty polarizing movie. It's a bit slower, but I love that like Hitchcockian kind of aesthetic to it. It's really fucking haunting, I guess. My number 6, horror comedy, Ready or Not. absolutely fucking love Ready or Not. I just watched it with Victoria like 2 nights ago, and I just still find myself loving this movie every single time I watch it. Into the top 5. At number 5, I have Malignant. Just love it. It is so quirky. It is so campy, but it just plays into it entirely. It is so unapologetically like stupid, and I just love that. My number 4, another movie reviewed. Tyler and I reviewed this a couple weeks ago, The Descent. Absolutely love The Descent, and I was really happy that Tyler also liked it. Number 3 is The Shining. I consider The Shining the greatest horror movie of all time, but in terms of my favorites, I have it at number 3. Number 2, I guess the best modern horror movie I like. Well, not the best, because I think Get Out might be a slightly better movie, but I do like Hereditary more. So Hereditary is my number 2. And at number 1, I have The Thing, is my favorite horror movie.
I'm surprised you don't have Alien on there.
I like it. I don't find myself rewatching Alien as much as I think. I think it's great. I think Alien and Aliens are 2 of the greatest movies ever made. But again, when I talk about like my favorites, I really incorporate, rewatch value. And these 10 horror movies, I think, are the ones that I just find myself rewatching the most, even throughout the year. Like I love Get Out, but I really don't watch it outside of horror season. Whereas like Malignant, It Follows, The Thing, I'll watch these in like August if I want.
I have a question for you, George. Yeah. And Tyler and Cam. What do you think is your number 1 most rewatched horror ever? Let's guess, obviously.
Get Out is probably the only one I go back to.
Fair enough. I've watched Get Out more than times.
I think my answer is Ready or Not, because when Ready or Not came out, I think I watched that movie like 10 times.
I wouldn't have, if you give me 20 guesses, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, it's just like, it's one of the, like, since if you like take out that piece of me just incessantly rewatching this movie, I think my most rewatched is probably The Shining, or maybe Cloverfield. But because of that, because like when Ready or Not released, I fell in love with it so quickly, and I watched it like every day for like a week straight, sometimes 2 times a day. Jesus. And just like because of that, I think it's probably my most rewatched horror movie.
Fair.
It is so
Seth, is yours The Shining?
Alien.
I'd probably say mine. Well, it's Shaun of the Dead, 100%. I'd probably say if we're not including that, I'd probably be Alien or The Shining. One of the 2. I've watched them both like probably 30 times each.
Okay.
Mine's Scream 4, but I don't rewatch a ton of horror movies, so
one that
crazy.
Emma and I we go back to The Conjuring every once in a while. I do like the first 2.
The Conjuring's probably the first one's probably high for me as well. Actually, I watched that.
Yeah, I don't rate them like as highly to make this. I have 4 out of 5, so highly, but not as high as these on the list. But we go back to that every once in a while, maybe once a year kind of thing.
Like The Conjuring 2, Cam?
I like I think The Conjuring 2 is like one of the scariest movies ever because The Nun. So like I'm just terrified of her to an extent that is probably not healthy. So yeah, I would say I like The Conjuring 2.
Interesting.
But The Nun movie's not great. I never saw The Nun 2. Did we talk that? That was
have any of us seen that yet? George, did you watch that? Okay.
No,
okay,
I don't.
There
are certain movies from this year I just don't plan on seeing. The Nun 2, Renfield, never going to watch.
Don't be bothering shit.
Exorcist Believer, The Meg 2, not
most
happening.
of these like average streaming releases, like prime releases on.
Dude, I swear to God, HBO. I'm sorry, we're getting a little off topic. HBO Max or Max now is trying to shove The Meg 2 down my phone.
It's always on the front page.
It is for the last like 2 months. It's been the front fucking page, and then when you go to like the movies tab, it is like, I swear it's always number 1 on like top 10 most streamed movies. I was like, there's no way this many people are watching The Meg 2.
You need to watch it. It's your sign. To watch it.
The final thing we'll talk about for the Halloween portion of this episode, which also means the last Halloween topic of the year, is so the Escape podcast had, they have many viral clips. One of their clips they had recently was was the like best horror franchise of all time. One of them said Saw. What did the other guy say? The Conjuring Universe.
Conjuring Universe, yeah.
So in spirit of that, we're gonna rank our top 10 greatest horror franchises, or top 5 greatest horror franchises of all time. Top 5, because I only have 4. I'm gonna do a random one for 5 because you have to give me one because I literally have only 4 I've ever seen. Well, seen all of like Halloween. I can't rank.
No. I was thinking that too because I'm pretty sure Jordan Peele has said that all of his films are in the same universe.
No, we're not. No.
So I actually did have like my top 5 out, and I was like, in my top 5, it said the Peele verse. But then I was like, I mean, yeah, like Ari Aster could randomly come out and say that all of his movies are in the same universe. Like, there's nothing that like truly separates them. So
Eggers could say that too. It's just they all take place hundreds of years before or after each other.
Like, no, bro, don't do that.
So yeah, top 5 horror franchises of all time.
Yeah, I've got it.
Do we? Let me know when y'all are prepped. So we just
go like we're doing like 5 and then
yeah, we'll do that. So I'll start with number 5 because I've only seen.
I would count Alien. I think
again, I've only seen 2 of them, so I feel like I can't properly rank them.
They're all great.
I don't know. So number 5, you're just gonna have to give me because I've it's the only other franchise I've seen all of. So like I'm not gonna rank a franchise if I haven't seen all the horror movies.
I'm ranking a lot of franchises that I have not seen all of them. I'll be honest with you.
Well, at least like the majority, like the Alien franchise. There's like 6 movies now. I've only seen 2 of them. Feel like I can't really properly like include that. Halloween franchise. There's like 10 of them. I've seen 1. Can't really include the Halloween franchise. So number 5, we're going to X franchise. There's only 2 movies. There's gonna be a third one.
Fair. I like it.
It's a trilogy, but whatever.
I was gonna say, like, I know you're like slightly joking because you haven't seen that many horror movie franchises, but if Maxine is as good as Pearl and X, like, I don't think a top 5 spot.
I'm more just joking mainly because like I don't. It's like a trilogy. It's not really a franchise.
I know, but yeah, that's fair. But like, still, I don't like. Truly, if Maxine is as good as X and Pearl have been,
then it would be like average.
Yeah. Oh, relax.
I got you for a split second.
Relax.
Actually, X is pretty good.
Facts.
Yeah. So the X verse, the XXX verse. We'll just kind of loop around the Cam. So Cam, what's your? Okay, never mind. George, 5th, number 5.
My 5
clockwise.
Maybe in terms of quality, it shouldn't be top 5, but I think its level of iconic and influence, I think it deserves a top 5 spot, and that's Halloween. Obviously, I think there have been a fair share of Halloween stinkers, particularly the most recent 2. But again, like Michael Myers is the most recognizable name in horror. Haddonfield is the most recognizable town in probably any movie ever. So I just think because of like how iconic and just how widespread the influence of Halloween is, I think it deserves that top 5 spot.
That's fair.
Valid. Seth, number 5.
5's tricky. I think I'm gonna be like, I just said that I don't consider this a horror film, but I'm really struggling for 5 because a lot of them, like Insidious and Conjuring, I only really like the first film. I'm gonna say the Hannibal Lecter franchise. I don't know, it's tricky. I actually haven't seen Manhunter, so I'm like not even seen all the films. I've seen 3. I've seen the trilogy. I think the last 2 were good, not great. I think Hannibal was pretty great actually. Well, good, but I think Silence of the Lambs is really the powerhouse. So I'll say the Hannibal Lecter franchise for number 5.
Cam,
that's sorry.
Yeah, so Tyler, I'm like right there with you, and like I just haven't completed these horror franchises because they suck. They like they suck. They just do. Like 90% of horror movies after the first one, you get an iconic character and then the rest suck. So this one, I'm just going strictly based off like iconicness, and I'm going with the Nightmare on Elm Street, I guess, because I feel like that's one of the most iconic horror. Like Freddy Krueger, he's iconic. I feel like
I've only seen the first one, to be fair.
I've only seen the first one, so I'm not like I am not.
Well, George can speak on it. He's just been going through the films.
The first one is great. It's in my top 50. It's very low to the bottom, but 2 and 3 and 4, not good. The remake from 2011, not good.
Yeah.
Is Freddy vs. Jason good at all?
I have not seen Freddy vs. Jason.
I actually have seen that.
I had zero intention of like going through the Nightmare on Elm Street one, but I logged the first one, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, the second is so much better." So I watched the second, and then everyone saw my bad review of the second. They're like, "Bro, just get to the third. It's the best one."
How many are there? Is there like
there's like
8?
7 or 8 maybe?
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see if I keep going.
Yeah.
In the 4 spot for me is the Evil Dead franchise. Evil Dead Rise is probably the only one I like. Like all the other ones are just like mid to me, just average. But Evil Dead Rise is fun. I like the Evil Dead. I don't care for the Sam Raimi trilogy. I can get why people love it, but it's whatever to me. But I like the reboots, I guess. The Evil Dead, genuinely scary, whereas the first 3 were just like obviously like more horror comedies. And then Evil Dead Rise is my favorite one though. George.
My number 4 goes to George Romero's Dead franchise. I don't know if there's like
I think it's called Living Dead franchise.
The Living Dead franchise. Yeah, I didn't know if there was like an official
yeah, I think it's called Living Dead
name to it. Night of the Living Dead is just like the most iconic zombie flick out there. It's like really what started the like zombie boom.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead, not Zack Snyder's, even though that one is fantastic as well.
You're not wrong. I'm not going to disagree with you.
Yeah, that is really your favorite. That is your favorite Snyder movie, right?
Yeah, out of the 3 I've seen.
Fair, okay,
I really like it. It's a 4-star.
Yeah, really fair. But Dawn of the Dead is just like equally as fantastic. And then Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead. I haven't seen those 2 in a bit of time, but I do remember liking them. And I just think what they do in like the practical effects sphere is just incredible. They're they're creepy and then they're haunting and they're so much fun, and I have a great time with all of them, regardless of how often I watch them. It's also like the craziest, like the first movie came out in 1968, and when was the last movie? Like 2005.
No, there's one after, and it was fucking awful. Like it was a trophy.
Oh yeah, Diary of the Dead. I have not seen Diary of the Dead. That came out in 2007. But that's got to be the longest running movie franchise ever, like besides like James Bond, maybe.
King Kong.
No, I think Halloween is now, isn't it? Because 78.
Oh yeah, 78 to yeah. You're right. Halloween
might
be.
Yeah.
You're right. But yeah, that's like such a crazy fucking time.
Oh no, Tyler might be right. King Kong. Horror.
Yeah,
it's not horror.
I meant franchise just in general. Honestly,
I'd say King Kong's.
No, it's
first one came out like 1933.
Yeah, it's King Kong, I guess. Yeah,
but when was the first Godzilla?
Godzilla's 54. I might be wrong. It's 50s.
Really?
50s. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 4, the Living Dead franchise.
Seth.
I was actually right. It's actually 54. That was a fucking incredible guess.
Yeah,
wow.
I looked that up.
So my 4 is Scream. One of the most consistent horror franchises ever. Probably say second in terms of consistency in IMO. There's no Scream film that I love, but I like all of them. You know, I have. Well, what was the Scream film? Was it Scream 3 that I wasn't a fan of? Is that the
Scream 2 is the movie theater one that a lot of people don't love.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Scream 2 was the only one I was like not huge on, but at the same time, no, Scream 3 I was the one I wasn't huge on. Scream 3? Sorry, I'm like losing track here.
I think that's one with Timothy Olyphant.
Scream 3 I didn't love. I gave it 2.5, but that's the lowest. And the other ones I give it like a 3 or upwards, and the first one like a 4. So there's none that I love, but I like all of them and can watch all of them, have a good time with pretty much all of them apart from 3. And I just think the consistency's there. They've been going a long time. It's iconic. It's funny. It's self-aware. Yeah, Scream is my number 4.
My 4, I'm going with Halloween on top of iconic, and I've probably seen the most in this franchise. I've seen the first, and I've seen the most recent 3. And the original remake I actually enjoy, but the other 2 kind of stink. There's not much to say about Halloween. It is I don't know if we've said this yet, the ReelTok or Real Quick review of the week, Halloween, the original. I like the original a lot, as mentioned in my 10 favorites, and it's an iconic franchise. And also, that bangs. You can't deny it. It bangs.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, John Carpenter cooked with that score. What's the story? He like wrote it in like an hour, like right before they were going to start filming, and now it's like the most iconic score of all time. Kind of badass to be like a director to also write the own score of your movie.
I was going to say, I had no clue he wrote that score.
I just found out that fun fact like yesterday, where it was like he like wrote it like in like at 1 hour, and it was like right before this. It was like a last minute thing he threw together.
That's one of the best ever.
Yeah.
Has to be.
But that's the cool thing about music. Like you can make it so iconic, but like I mean, in reality, it's like 4 keys on the piano, just like repeating. So it's like obviously like, you can theoretically think someone could make that up real quick. It's like not that complex of a piece, but
real quick.
The fact that it's so iconic.
What
are we on number 3?
They have it on. Yeah.
Shout out Fortnite. Did you say?
Shout out Fortnite. They have the like Michael Myers right now.
Do they?
And they've got the sword and everything.
Oh shit!
It's I saw it on Twitter, and I have been playing Fortnite kind of.
Season 1 coming back.
Yeah, we're back, baby.
Who's back in the league is Fortnite.
That is who's back in the league.
I mean,
number 3.
Number 3 for me is the Sawverse. There's not many Saws I really dislike. I think Jigsaw and Spiral are the only ones I like really hate.
Yeah.
Didn't love 3D either, but like Saw 1 through Saw 1 and Saw 1's really good. Obviously, Saw 2 and 3 are like okay. What's the one that like revived it? Saw 6 I thought was quite good.
I like Saw 6.
And then Saw 10. I still can't stop thinking about it, man. Like I love Saw 10. Like I keep thinking about just like the blood scene, like the teeter-totter with the blood was just so crazy. Like there's like genuinely just like a well shot movie, like a lot of cool like stuff in it. But I don't know. I want to rewatch it, even though it like almost made me pass out. But yeah, Sawverse number 3. Nice. George.
My number 3 is the Alien Universe, which I think I mean it would make sense that it would be higher, given that I hold like Alien and Aliens as 2 of the greatest movies like ever, just in general. But I don't know, like in terms of like horror franchise, I don't really consider Aliens a horror movie. It's more science fiction action.
There's only like one for me, like horror film, which is Alien. Do you consider the Alien versus Predator films in the franchise? I mean,
I'm not, but I think it would make sense if you did. Yeah. Like I'm strictly considering Alien 1, 2, 3, Covenant, and Prometheus,
and Resurrection.
Yeah. And like the only ones I truly would consider horror here are Alien, Prometheus, and Covenant.
Oh yeah, maybe Prometheus actually.
Yeah, which is why I don't have it like a little higher, because I think half the franchise is more science fiction and action as opposed to horror.
Yeah.
But either way, the first Alien is one of the greatest horror movies of all time. It's in my top 3. And then Prometheus and Covenant, I know they get a lot of hate, but I think they're very good movies.
I like both of them a lot.
Yeah, I think they're very, very good movies. So I got Alien at number 3.
Oh, cool.
Seth.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. My number 3, George has already mentioned it, is George A. Romero's Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead is actually one of my lowest ones. I like it. It's cool. Again, like George said, one of the most iconic zombie films ever. Probably the one that influenced all of them today. Day of the Dead, I love. Dawn of the Dead is in my top 10 horrors of all time. Dawn of the Dead is fantastic. And I do quite like Land of the Dead as well. It wasn't great, but then they kept going on after that, and there was a few like stinkers after that. But yeah, 2 of them at least I would consider to be within my top 20 horrors ever. So I hold the Living Dead franchise really, really highly. I think George A. Romero is a fantastic director. I love the practical effects. I also really love zombie films, so it was always going to get in here. Like George said, I also really like Snyder's Dawn of the Dead as well. Great film. But yeah, that is my number 3, is George A. Romero's Living Dead franchise.
Is the Nazi zombies map included in that franchise? Is it, like, what is that? The 6th zombies map ever is like the George A. Romero's like Living Dead. I don't know if you guys are big zombies players. I guess not.
Wait, when was this?
Oh, I don't know, like 2010 at this point. But it was like
which map was it?
I think it's literally called like George Romero zombies map.
I don't even remember this.
Yeah, it was like a DLC. Obviously, it was Night of the Living Dead.
Oh yeah, shit.
From the original Black Ops. It was an expansion pack, and he was like one of the characters was George Romero, and then what's the guy that's in all the movies?
The guy who
from Breaking Bad,
wears like the thing.
Danny Trejo was also one of the players.
Danny Trejo, yeah. I off topic, but did you guys see the clip of the new zombies coming out? No rounds anymore.
No,
there's no rounds.
I didn't even know it was still a thing.
It's just a big open arena. It's fucking looks terrible. Yeah, I used to love zombies, but
I loved Kino, and then
Kino the Totem was the one. And did you play Terminal, Cam, with the bus?
Yeah, Terminal.
Like travel around.
Yep. I liked that. I never got any DLCs because as a kid, like, my parents wouldn't buy it, so I didn't have any money on my own, so I never got any DLCs. But I loved Kino, loved Black Ops, greatest game ever. My number 3, the only one that I'll say I've seen all of them other than like the extended movies, the Conjuring Universe. I like the first 2, like I mentioned, so I at least got to give it props for that. And I don't think the third is horrible. What was it? The Devil
All the Time. Devil all the time.
No, that's the movie with Tom Holland. I don't know. It's like the devil does something in the courtroom. Devil's in the courtroom or something. I like that one just fine. I think it's like a 2 or 2.5 out of 5. So not great, but good enough to at least get the 3 spot. And then the Nun stinks, and I won't watch the Nun remake, but good enough to be my number 3, considering I haven't seen any of these. So shout out the Conjuring Universe.
Val, it's like you and Hat Guy handshake. You two agree?
Yeah, dude. Hey, Hat Guy gets bad rep on Twitter. I like Hat Guy. I've talked to about other things. I'm not gonna say he's got great movie takes. I like Hat Guy. Shout out Alex.
He kind of knows ball. I've seen him with some.
He knows ball.
He does kind of know ball, to be honest.
He knows ball.
Oh wait, wait. So now it's to me for the number 2 right now.
Number 2,
yeah. Psycho. Only reason it's not number 1 is just because there's such a drop in quality after the first one. But like Cam mentioned, there's a lot of horror franchises. But yeah, Psycho's a fun franchise. I really like that in the 4th one. Anthony Perkins got a chance to direct them. I think it's super cool. And yeah, it's Psycho's number 2. George, number 1 now, right? Yeah, number 1 for you.
2.
No.
Wait,
you started.
I started because X-Force. Yeah. Number 2 for George.
2 for me is Scream. My 2 and 1 are interchangeable. I think Scream and my number 1 are the 2 most consistent horror franchises out there. Just constantly pumping out quality, constantly keeping things refreshing. I love the last 2 Screams. I know they haven't been as well received as the original Scream and a couple of the sequels, but I love what we're doing with these 2. I guess I don't want to call it a reboot because it
kind of is a reboot.
Yeah, it's like a soft reboot sequel. Mm-hmm. I mean, they make jokes about it in the movie and they call it a requel. But I whatever you want to call them, I love them. I think they're really good at keeping the franchise fresh and delivering for a new audience. So yeah, I got Scream at 2, one of my favorite horror franchises, one of the most consistent horror franchises.
Mm-hmm. Seth.
My 2 is The Evil Dead. What I consider to be the most consistent horror franchise ever. I got to watch the first one in 35mm a few weeks ago at the cinema. That was great. Love seeing it on the big screen. Really, really good environment. I love the first 3, specifically Evil Dead 2 being my favorite. I love that one. I think it's fantastic. Probably my top 15 horrors of all time, just outside of the top 10. Like Army of Darkness a lot, like the first one a lot. I like the Evil Dead 2013. Haven't rewatched it though, but that's definitely my lowest right now. But I think it will go up on rewatch. And then also really liked Evil Dead Rise this year, just sticking to the roots. They know what they're good at. And I do think it's the most consistent horror franchise. I will say I haven't seen, George, I don't know if you've seen the Ash vs. Dead, the show?
Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
Apparently it's really fun.
I had started it and saw like an episode or 2 like years ago and just never continued.
Yeah, so discount that from my my thing. But yeah, my number 2 is the Evil Dead franchise, a fantastic and what I consider to be the most consistent horror franchise of all time.
My number 2, and the only reason I had this at 1, but I moved it to 2 due to only seeing 2 of the movies. I'm going to go with the Alien franchise. I have them both, Alien and Aliens, at a 5 out of 5. The only reason I haven't continued is I've heard the rest are shit, but I think you guys like a couple. No, I think you guys like a couple, so maybe I'll go back to it. The most recent 2 are good or shit?
Good. But the one that 3 and 4, you can give a miss. They're like, meh. No.
Yeah. Maybe I'll watch them. But I love the first 2. And then, I have seen Alien versus Predator, both of those. And I guess you guys said they're not in the franchise, but I mean
they kind of are.
They kind of are. Those are truly shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
So that takes it down a little bit. But that'll be my number 2 is Alien.
Didn't Fincher disown Alien 3 or whatever from his filmography?
So it was very much similar to a Lynch's Dune, where they threw him in last minute to get on this huge studio product. He had no control at all. They kept changing the script, and so now
James Cameron gonna come back or something, or what happened with that? There was some weird directing thing.
They had another director. They got Fincher in like last minute. I don't know. Cameron might have been, but I can't remember. I think they switched him a few times. It was like very last minute, very bad decisions across the board. They kept changing everything to do with the film, and Fincher basically had like no say. So now, if you ask him about it, he like just hates it, and he just doesn't include it in his filmography, which is fair because it's not really his work. Do you know what I mean?
Movie.
I don't think it's bad, but I don't like it. I have like a 2.5. I think it's watchable.
Shout out him, David Ayer, hating work they've done.
I still think that's kind of like a lame move to like.
I think so
like,
too.
It's like you're still like have to. It's like a football coach. Like you're still the name attached. Like you still ultimately could have like backed out if you hated it that much.
I hate
like,
it
you know,
too.
like
I'm with you.
Shyamalan with Last Airbender, Fincher with Alien 3, David Ayer.
I think when he signed up for it though, he was promised like things that weren't available.
So wasn't that like his like first movie or one of his first movies ever?
Yeah, it was. It's a weird film to be fucking like after Alien. You know what I mean? It's such a huge release and a few years after. But I think he was promised a lot when he initially signed the deal, and then nothing came of it. And to the point where, so I kind of get why he doesn't count it like Lynch doesn't for Dune kind of thing. I do kind of understand it.
Still one of my favorite like movie stories of all time was like when like I don't know if it's James Cameron or if it was like the producers when they were pitching Aliens, they just like went on a whiteboard and just wrote Alien. And just wrote the S after it, then just put the $sign through it, and then that's literally that's all they did for their pitch meeting. And I'm like, that's just such a badass story. And I don't know if it was James Cameron, but that sounds like such a James Cameron thing that he would have done.
Yeah, it does.
It's like this is all you need: more aliens, money. Number one for me is Scream. It's what I consider to be the most consistent horror franchise. I'm a big Scream fan. The thing is, like, so with Saw, even though I'm a huge fan of the Saw universe, I'm not always looking forward to new Saw movies because like I feel like they're just like all kind of bland and like. I'm talking mainly like the middle ones. And like, it's like, I kind of know what I'm going to get. I'm just going to like gruesome kills. Whereas like Scream, you know, it's going to be like that big Scooby-Doo ending with like pulling off the mask, who did it. But even if I don't love a Scream, like Scream 3, I don't think I loved, and 2, I didn't care for as much. But like, I still am like intrigued. Like I'm always going to be excited for a new Scream because I was like, how are they going to do these twists? Like it's going to be fun. Usually a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff in there, a lot of fun social commentary of just like what horror movies are. Like as the Scream universe goes on, they kind of make solid commentaries. Like I'm excited to see what like they keep coming up with in these new Screams. Like, cause there's a lot of controversial stuff going on in the horror worlds with all these legacy sequels and stuff. So I feel like there's just a lot of good content for the comedy aspects of Scream that they can go for. But yeah, Scream's number one for me. I really enjoy the
roasted on Twitter now.
What do you mean?
I thought, isn't that what they got roasted on Twitter for?
No,
what they get roasted for?
They said Saw was their number one.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Scream. Okay, that makes me feel better for what my number one is.
Which, like, I don't like Saw and Conjuring. I don't really hate. Like, if someone said either of those are their favorite horror franchises of all time, I wouldn't really like bad eye at them. I think it's just that they said it and the way they say it.
That's but I don't think I thought it was Scream for some reason.
It's the way they talk, but I think it's the reason they get hate.
But like, if like a horror content creator said like Saw is their favorite horror franchise of all time, I don't think anyone would be like, what the hell are they talking about? Yeah. Be like, oh, like not the first pick, I would say, but not like something I would lose my mind over. But let's George, number one.
My number one is Evil Dead. But like I said, Evil Dead, Scream, they're the two most consistent horror franchises we have, I think, and they're pretty interchangeable. The only reason I put Evil Dead at number one over Scream is because if you, I guess, ask me which franchise I would remove from existence between the two of them, I'd probably pick Scream. I think the Evil Dead franchise just has a higher rewatch value for me, at least. I just love that quirky, gory, fun possession shit that Sam Raimi did with the original trilogy, and then I love like the revamp of Evil Dead and Evil Dead Rise just being just gory and sadistic, but also kind of carrying that quirky nature from the original trilogy. So
what's your favorite from the franchise?
Evil Dead 2.
Oh, sorry. Cool.
Yeah, Evil Dead 2. I think that's like one of the best. I think that might be, I know you'll disagree with this because of Shaun of the Dead, but I think Evil Dead 2 might be the best horror comedy ever.
I think it's my number 2, to be fair.
Yeah, they're my 1 and 2, but I think I would slightly edge Evil Dead 2.
I'd have One Cut of the Dead up there as well.
Yeah, One Cut of the Dead would be up there for me too. Ready or Not would be up there for me, personally, and definitely not for most people. But yeah, Evil Dead for me, best horror movie franchise out there.
Nice. My number 1 is Alien, obviously. Alien's a weird one because, like George said, there's like 2 films, maybe 3 I'd consider horror, but obviously, the main bulk of why it's at number one is how highly I hold Alien, being one of my favorite and most rewatched films of all time. Aliens, I still think it's really, really good. I'm definitely more on the lens of I prefer the horror aspects and the atmosphere rather than sci-fi action, but Aliens is also great, obviously. Alien 3, I'm not huge on. I think it's meh, and Alien 4 probably worse. I'm actually less on Alien 4. Resurrection, but then I personally think Prometheus and Covenant are both really good. Covenant I actually think is slightly higher. I think I'd go top 3 would be Alien, Aliens, and then Alien Covenant, which is apparently controversial to most people because I know a lot of people didn't like Covenant, but I really like it. And I think that it just it's one of the franchises that means a lot to me. I can rewatch the films over and over again, especially the first 2 and the most recent 2. And I think that it really is the first one, especially that's kind of holding up the weight. And like Cam said, like the Alien vs Predator films, like they're shit. They're
real bad.
I'm not thinking about this. I'm just counting Alien on its own. Do you know what I mean? So Alien is my number one pick, 100%. It was actually close between that and The Evil Dead, but I edge Alien just because of the first one.
The Alien vs Predator movies are real bad.
Yeah, they're great.
All right, my number one, and I'm kind of my number one's Scream. And I'm kind of anti-Scream in the sense that I think they're all very okay. None of them are bad. None of them are bad, but I don't love any of them. So I hate that it's my number one, but it is the one I've seen them all, except the new one. I never got around to. I'll watch it sometime this year.
Oh, the new one.
Yeah, I'll watch it sometime for like 2023 ranking purposes. I don't think any of them are amazing. I think my highest rated is the original, which may be a 4 out of 5. But then other than that, I think they're all, in the range of a 3, 3.5, 4, which is good. Yeah. Just nothing blows me away. But yeah, my number one's Scream. So me and Tyler are with each other there. Yeah, I think my Scream rankings range from a 4.5. Oh, I gave Scream 3 a 1.5, I guess. I disliked that one.
Too bad, wasn't great.
Yeah. And then a 2 for Scream 4. Tyler, sorry. I'm sorry to tell you that.
Yeah, you're crazy for that one.
That's one of the biggest discrepancies in rating between two.
That is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
best Ghostface in the whole franchise.
I have a 2. I see Tyler 4.5.
I think I have a 3 or 3.5.
Yeah, so I don't see you on here because there you are, 3.5 for you and George. Sam Cosplays, if you know her, has a 4.5. Like, this is just a large rating distribution by people.
She's got it. Sam's got to have all the Screams very
probably.
High.
She loves the Screams.
She loves the Scream movies.
Yeah, but I'm the lowest on it, which might be crazy. But I have seen the whole Screams and I like the first, so I gotta at least give it credit for that in the sense that none of them are blow my brains out bad, but. Yeah, like some of the fucking Halloween franchises. That's Scream rankings.
You haven't even seen the worst Halloween film.
No, that's true.
Some of them are like,
some of them are so bad.
I think it's the 6th one. The one
I watched.
George, the one with Busta Rhymes in it, where you're like,
I watched that clip today on Twitter. I watched
that is one of the worst films.
And the mask looked really bad.
Oh my god!
The mask was really bad in those as well.
Did not look that bad in the original.
The mask was really bad. Yeah. They changed the mask up for a few of them.
Yeah, the mask does get bad. The mask from I think it's Resurrections. Like they tried to. The one with it looks too clean, and it just looks so shit.
No like. That's why, George, I want you to watch. I know you won't like them, but the Rob Zombie ones.
I've seen all the Halloweens.
Oh, have you seen the Rob Zombie ones?
I've seen all the
I think the Rob Zombie, the mask.
I just don't like that.
Like, fair. I think the Rob Zombie one was cool because it's like disheveled.
Yeah, it's got a hole in it. It's gross.
Yeah, but the Resurrection was just like a white blank face.
Yeah,
it looked terrible.
The Rob Zombie one's got like that one's got like Daniel Radcliffe Goblet of Fire hair though.
That's true.
That's got that one goes crazy.
That's actually quite funny. Yeah,
that one goes nuts.
Yeah, that's true. Sticks out at the back. I get it. That's true.
Well, yeah, of course, Halloween the original is going to be our real quick review this week, and a real quick draft this week is going to be drafting Halloween candy. So if you are prepped for that on the side, you can kind of prep that a little bit while we're wrapping up here.